Alrighty guys, it's Tuesday night, the night after Black Friday and Cyber Monday and whatnot, and I thought I'd mix it up a little bit and try to add some value to the discussion maybe. This comes up a lot. I probably spend too much time on the internet, but on Facebook it comes up a lot. Somebody will be like, hey man, not to me, but to just random groups, I just bought X, Y, and Z. Show me yours so I know what to do with mine. And I think that's kind of the wrong approach. So I don't know, we'll give this a shot. You guys know my editing sucks, so I don't know what format this will end up coming out in. Maybe one long video, maybe a series, I don't know yet. We'll just kind of play it by ear. But we're gonna do a plate carrier tutorial and see how it goes. Might be garbage, who knows. Alright, so let's say, Tuesday after Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and you just picked up your hype new plate carrier because Instagram and Facebook told you that that's what you needed to buy, and now you're like, well, what do I do? Show me pictures of yours, right? The pictures never have context or anything. They don't have the reasons why, and we're going to work through that step by step. All right, so you got your plate carrier. All right, hopefully you got a plate carrier that matches your plates, or a plan for plates that match your plate carrier. All right, either way is acceptable. I think it just depends on what's in stock. I get it. The drop culture that we're living in right now kind of necessitates some kind of rash decisions, I guess, on what to buy at times. All right, so I just put out the video a couple days ago about plates and plate carriers. So for example, here we've got this Maritime JPC in swimmer cut. All right, so maybe I didn't have plates first, maybe I did. Hopefully I planned ahead a little bit. We've got a Hesco L210 in the front, in the larger of the two sizes, and then a small Sappy in the back. All right, so even if we didn't plan ahead, we've got a little bit of play there and some options. All right, but this has no real load carrying ability on it right now. All right, so that's the next step. All right, so what do we need after we have the plate carrier and the armor? All right, and I think the thing that makes the most sense is some sort of ammo carriage. All right, so whether that be placard or fixed mount, we'll take a second and we'll look at that. All right. All right, so looking at ammo on our plate carrier. All right, I think the first thing that we need to look at is what ammo. All right, so odds are the majority of us are going to be working with 5.56. All right, probably in PMags. There's nothing wrong with GI mags, and we'll get into why one might be better than the other a little bit later. All right, other popular options right now: ammo shortage, AK. All right, it's 7.62 short or 5.45. I don't have 5.45, so I don't know much about that. Maybe you're a little older in persuasion, and you think you got to have 308. All right, so 308 is an option. Or maybe you just have all the money in the world and you want to run exclusively 9mm. All right, so the next step, I think, is figuring out what ammo we want to have on our rig, and then how much ammo. All right, so I think a really good, safe starting place for 5.56 is 3 mags. All right, 3 mags fits really cleanly on the front of the plate carrier. You could double up and go 6. Maybe you want to leave that option open and still start with 3. 308. You can also fit 3 across on most plate carriers, depending on what pouch options you have. AK mags, I don't know. AK mags kind of suck to work with, but there's options out there for those. And then if you're running 9mm, because 9mm sucks, you're gonna have to have a little bit more. I don't know. Maybe you don't need more. Maybe you only need the one in the gun. Who knows? But you can usually fit 4 or 5 of these across the front of the plate carrier. All right, so 3 rifle mags, 4 or 5 pistol mags. All right, that's a good starting point. Now let's look into how we are going to carry those. Alright, so we talked about maybe a rough ballpark for how much ammo to carry. Let's talk about how to carry it. Alright, so if we're looking at M4 mags, the sky's the limit, right? There's stuff out there all over the place. This one happens to be AVS Placard. If you're curious how placards work, check out my Placard video. Alright, I don't know if I'll link to it. I gotta get the computer out to do that. Who knows? Alright, I'm just kind of winging this. Alright, so M4 mags, super easy to work with. Do you want a placard or not? We'll get into that in just a little bit. Do you want flaps? Do you want Velcro flaps? Do you want buckle flaps, bungees, kydex? There's all sorts of things to look at. If you've never tried any of those and you're completely new to this concept, I recommend just playing around with bungee secured stuff, because if you're new to this, you probably don't require flaps, and there's other things to worry about before getting into kydex retention on the rig. Right? It does add some bulk. I'm not a huge fan of kydex on the plate carrier, so this is a really good starting point. All right, and this covers M4 mags, but you kind of need to know that you're using M4 mags. Right? If you aren't necessarily sure, you could get something that's a hybrid, like the carriage stretch panel. Some people didn't believe me that it'll fit 3 7.62 mags. However, it does. They're right there, and there's no crazy stretch or anything going on. The bungees are completely unnecessary with the AR-10 mags. All right, they are in there pretty snug, but you can get them out no problem. You just can't really re-index them. All right, so this will allow you 7.62, both long and short, and then 5.56, real easy. All right. Maybe you know that you're going to run 308. There's dedicated 308 placards out there, like this triple from Velocity Systems. All right, this kicks it up a little bit and has some external pouches on there, and we're not really to that point yet, so just kind of keep this in the back of your mind. All right, and then maybe you don't know exactly what you're going to carry, so you want to leave some flexibility, but not necessarily for 308 mags. You've got like the Spiritus Microfight. Now you could fit 2 308 mags in here and mix something else in there, like a pistol mag or something. But again, this adds a little bit more than just the mag capacity. It has a front pocket, all right, which I'm not going to show you how to fill. We'll talk about that a little bit later. All right, so that's kind of your starting point for mags. And then there's also direct mount pouches, which I don't have any handy right now. However, that's just to molly on. All right, so the example plate carrier here does not have molly on the front, so I don't necessarily need to worry about that. However, Cry makes a straight AVS panel with no mag pockets, which I could then molly onto. So molly on pouches are not dead. There's plenty of reasons to have them over a placard. However, the AVS attachment system is kind of the best of both worlds, because it doesn't actually eat up any real estate, and it is every bit as streamlined as molly attachment. All right, quick side note on placards while we're here. There's one like overwhelming train of thought for why we would want a placard, and this is kind of a good example. All right, I got 5.56 in a placard, and I got 308 in a placard. If I'm in some sort of role, or even if I'm just doing this recreationally and I have both options available and maybe one plate carrier, I can very quickly swap between calibers. All right, there's also some sub-gun placards out there as well, so you can near instantaneously change between 5.56 and 308 or whatever other platform you want. But there's a less talked about reason to have a placard, which if you've been watching me for a while, you may have seen that on my JPC, in a whole handful of videos, there was no placard present. And that wasn't just because I took it off for storage, that was because I was using the armor purely for armor, and I didn't need to carry mags. All right, so I could ditch it. That allows me to get actually prone all the way to the ground to take cover behind stuff that doesn't actually exist for explosive effects or whatever. Also, something like this, if I have a toolkit in the front of my placard whether I need ammo or not. If I don't need ammo, I've got more room for tools, and I've done that in the past too. It allows me to take off my toolkit and put it in front of me and work out of it that way. Or if I have this on like my response armor and I needed to hop into the bomb suit or something, I can grab this off my carrier, and if I really wanted to get squirrely, I could make a real easy sling for it with just some webbing and some buckles, and then I have a toolkit on the go that's not necessarily tied to the armor. So placards, maybe of different weapons, or maybe you want some other stuff that sometimes you don't want it, sometimes you do want it, and sometimes you want it separate from your armor. Kind of like when we used to put chest rigs on top of slick plate carriers so that we could have just armor or just stuff. It's kind of the same concept, just scaled way down. All right, so now that we've got ammo covered and we kind of have an idea how we want to carry it, let's go to the next step in building up this plate carrier. All right, next piece. We've figured out what we have, what we're working with. All right, we got ammo quantity and how we're going to carry it sorted out. If you thought the next step was going to be radios, I want you to go ahead and find somebody else's femoral artery and rub your nose in it, because radios don't matter yet. We're going to talk about first aid. All right, whether you're trained or not, or what you're going to carry, all that stuff, that's a whole different discussion. But you need to account for having some sort of ability to plug holes if you plan on making holes, or you're shooting steel and catch ricochet or whatever. All right, and there's a couple different approaches to this. All right, I for one don't typically have any first aid on my armor. I prefer it on my belt, but there's no like one path to take on this video. So if you keep your first aid on your belt, that's totally fine. Run with that. But we're going to pretend we don't have a belt yet necessarily, and we're going to talk about vest-mounted first aid. All right, so there's a couple different approaches that we can take. We can have something like this HSGI bleeder pouch, which is very small. All right, it is essentially a 2 M4 mag pocket, not quite, and it's got this little seat belt in here for puking out everything that you got in there. All right, so this is not providing any kind of organization or anything. It's just the contents are in there, and then something bad happens and you want them all out. All right, I don't necessarily think that's a bad approach. Some people with much more experience in this might disagree, and that's totally fine. I will absolutely concede to their knowledge, but I don't necessarily have a problem with, if I have a Ziploc baggie of supplies in here, everything coming out. All right. Another example would be like this little GP pouch here. All right, it opens up very wide, and I could have some sort of insert in there to hold my medical equipment. All right, again, it mollies on. All right, and that's totally fine. This could be a little bit more robust of a kit. It's a little bit bigger. It could also have a more functional insert versus a Ziploc baggie full of supplies. All right, and then kind of the other approach that we could take is a kit. Disregard the fact that this is attached to a back panel, but we could have like the old Paraclete quad fold, where it has organization built into the pouch, and you know, the flaps have little pockets on them, and all our stuff is contained there. This is kind of the other end of the spectrum, where our stuff is like permanently married to us, so maybe not the most accessible for us to use on ourselves. However, it keeps everything contained, and if we have to be moved, in theory, we're not going to lose as much supplies. All right. You can also, you know, have this mounted, you know, non-dominant side or something like that, and in theory, you could work out of it as well. Not so much on the back panel, but having the stuff contained in the pouch doesn't necessarily mean that you can't render your own aid. Right, and then kind of the way to kind of cross those is to get some sort of quick disconnect pouch. I don't think I have any QD IFAKs. However, I know that they're out there. And then if you don't have that, but you have the pouch, rip stays are coming back, supposedly. And that's kind of like a quick release molly system where you just pull on it and the pouch comes off your kit. So that's another option if you want a kit that organizes all your stuff in the kit. and isn't necessarily already QD. All right, so getting our plate sorted out, figuring out what ammo, how we're going to carry it, and then how we're going to carry our first aid stuff. Right, I'm not going to tell you what first aid stuff to carry. That's up to you based on your training and what you're comfortable with, but you have to have something. All right, even if it's just a tourniquet and some gauze that somebody else might know how to use if you get hurt, you got to have something. All right, so then we'll step into the next topic. All right, mags, first aid, armor. Now we want to talk to our friends, all right? 'Cause everybody wants to have friends. Friends are cool because we're going to suck on our own. All right, so how are we going to do that? Well, we got to have a radio of some sort. All right, and there's I think there's like 3 different sizes that I would break these down into. All right, so if any mill dudes are hanging around, you got your giant green or black bricks. All right, or if you're a LARPer and you got a fake one because you're not cool enough to have a real one anymore, I totally feel your pain there. All right, size down just a little bit. Maybe you're working with some sort of like commercial Motorola for the Marines. Your 153s, which for whatever reason you guys came up with your own name for Motorola, so that's cool. Or you're balling on a budget and you've got a Bofang, all right, because they're like, I don't know, $25 or something off Amazon. All right, so how are we going to carry these? There's kind of 2 different approaches to carrying a radio. All right, and overwhelmingly, I am a fan of these wingman style pouches. All right, I just grabbed a random one off the shelf. The Cry Airlight is phenomenal if you have a radio that fills it. But this is just an elastic version right here. And those mount internal of the cummerbund on the vest, and I'll break down why I prefer that in just a second. But the other option is MOLLE backed for external on the cummerbund. You could use like the Axle Advance B-Wing and put these internal, but you really lose all of the benefit of these. So they should be on the outer face of the cummerbund. All right. This one happens to be I think Tactical Tailor, and it has a flip down option. All right, this is for a 152, but there are flip downs of all sorts and sizes out there. All right, flip down of course allows you to have access to the faceplate of your radio while you're wearing it, it can be a big deal. All right, if you have to change frequencies or you have to confirm that you're on the right frequency, this can be a whole lot easier than trying to get the radio out of the pouch. All right, so that's one style of external. And then if you need something like this, you probably don't need to be watching this video, but like there's also stacked external. So like this one has an outer utility pocket on it, so I can remote to 5590 for more power, or I can just carry a grenade or something in there. It doesn't flip down, but it does give you that option if you want onboard external power, basically. And then with the Bofangs and really lots of other things, there's Kydex pouches and options coming out, like Milwaukee Custom Kydex. I don't have one, and I regret that, but he makes the Rack, which is a flip-down Kydex pouch for Bofangs. If you have a Bofang, it looks phenomenal. It looks like it would be an incredible tool. Protects the radio, which all the Kydex ones are going to protect the radio, but it also incorporates that flip down. So this is another option, and these also you can stick in some mag pouches, so you've got some flexibility on mounting. You can direct mount these with mouse clips, or you could even, since this one doesn't have the flip down capability, you could shove it inside of something like a Wingman and have that internal and still protect that more fragile Chinese radio. All right, so those are your different options for kind of how to mount a radio, and I'll show you real quick why I prefer internal, and then you guys can make up your own minds, obviously, because this is your rig, and you shouldn't copy mine without understanding the mindset, all right, or anybody else's for that matter, unless you just want the clout and it looks cool. Then go for it. It's cool. All right, radio pouches internal to the cummerbund. All right, they hang onto the side of your plate bag, your front plate bag, and then the cummerbund closes around it. Why do I prefer those, and why do I eat the mild discomfort from having a radio right there? because all of my cables go to the front plate bag, and then because I like having a vest worn antenna like the cattails antennas, it goes over the shoulder strap into the back plate, and none of that ever has to move. All right, I hate cable routing. I think that the person that puts out a plate carrier that solves, or a push to talk that solves cable routing, will get all of my money in the future. All right, I hate doing it, but this makes sure that I only have to do it one time. All right, I put the radio in, I attach the antenna, I attach the push to talk, and then it's here, and it never has to move. If I have it on the cummerbund, I either have to disconnect everything and reconnect it every time I close the cummerbund, or I have to remote it around the back plate on the cummerbund, which I'm not a fan of. Plus, that's a lot of cable. And then I still have to contend with my push to talk. All right, which push to talk isn't a huge deal as long as you lick the O-ring, right, and then you plug it onto your radio once you close the flap. That's okay. But it's that antenna routing, and I would rather not deal with it. So I take a little bit of discomfort. Plus, I got a little bit of extra weight down there, so it's cushioned. All right, so I'm not so worried about the radio jabbing me in the ribs. All right, that's why I like this. Nothing wrong with an external one if that's what you need. All right, so now that we've talked about mags, first aid, radios, there's a lot of different paths we could go down because those are kind of the important things. Radios even up in the air. All right, but this is a good segue to talk about side armor. All right, so side armor I'm a fan of, whether it be soft or hard, depending on your use. Let's make some jokes about that too. But side armor can drive one more radio decision that we have to make, and that is whether we want our radios on the back. All right, I don't ever recommend radios on the back unless you have some extra steps in place to make sure that you are following your comm plan appropriately. All right, so some people, myself included, would prefer to have the side plate basically touching the front plate, which kind of drives the radios not being in that location, or on the outer face, which gets very bulky very quick. All right, so this is the AVS harness. I have my 152 in front of my side plate, and I'm kind of eating a little bit of the protection there because I don't have my side plate quite where I want it. But I tried putting it behind the side plate. Some people have good luck kind of shrugging and looking over their shoulder and being able to see where the knob is. I did not have luck with that, so I moved it back up front. But I did play around with that. If you can find the one person that stole all of the 152 adapters for the KDUs, that also makes it a little bit more realistic to have your radio on the back, because then you can still have all your functionality right up front, and it alleviates a lot of those concerns, and then your side plates go back where you want them. Cable routing gets easier, everybody's happy, but I have never run across one, nor am I cool enough to ask anybody to buy me a KDU with the adapters. So that's one more consideration there with radios, front versus back. If you're doing stuff recreationally, there's really no harm in trying it on your back and seeing how that works out. If you're doing stuff professionally, you might look like an idiot, but maybe it works out for you until it doesn't. I don't know. Run your radio on the back if you want. That way your side plates are where you want them. All right. Side plates, there's a couple different sizes out there, and you got to pay attention to what you're doing. Right. So I have these green side plates here and some MSAP side plates. You can see there is a significant size difference there. The MSAPs, if you're buying these on your own, or you can get them issued, are the way to go because they will fit in way more things. The green issued ones, there's a couple different sizes of. A lot of the aftermarket side plate pouches are not going to work with them, and they're too big. You can also get soft armor for your sides. So I have 6x9s on my JPC for frag protection. All right, it basically turns it almost into the same amount of coverage as a bulks cut armor. It's a little bit shorter on the torso, but side to side, in my mind, it's just the same. All right, so side armor, whether you want rifle plates or frag, pistol, soft armor. That's another call to make. But it can be a cheap investment in both money and weight and footprint for some added protection. All right, I would way rather deal with having 2 extra pounds of armor on me and being able to take some oblique shots. I think it's well worth it. All right, so side armor is kind of the next step I would go, just because it drives the radio discussion. All right, mags, first aid, comms, potentially extra armor. This next one might be more important than any of the other components, depending on the environment you're using it in, and that's going to be hydration. All right, so hydration, I think there's kind of two main paths we can go down. We can go and we can use bottled hydration, or we can go with a bladder setup. All right, so I, being as lazy as I am not a huge fan of bladders, not because I don't like the functionality or the capacity, but because I will straight up forget to clean the system, and then it's rotten. I don't know how many bladders I've had to throw away over the years. All right, so if I know that the duration of whatever I'm doing or the support exists to not use a bladder, I will skip the bladder, or I'll put it in the ruck and not direct mount it to the system, right? So that's why I started carrying a 1 liter Nalgene bottle, right? Not the true Nalgene, but their little 32 ounce thing. I don't know what these are called, but it fits well in the Paraclete water pouch, and I've had good luck mounting that upside down on the back flank of my vest. I can retrieve it and stow it pretty well, pretty quickly. And this is also just kind of a reserve. Lately, with the Cry Pants specifically, I've had really good luck just smashing 16.9 ounce water bottles into the cargo pockets and using the little elastic band in there to keep them standing up. If I don't have that band, I don't do it, because I cannot stand when stuff tips over sideways in my cargo pockets. But with the band, I prefer that, because I can have 4 bottles in my pants, and that keeps me hydrated pretty well. All right, so the bottle's an option for sure. Even if you have a bladder, I recommend having a bottle, because if you need to wash something, a bladder kind of sucks. So if you need to irrigate a wound or something, the bottle's the way to go. All right, and then when we look at bladder setups, there's several paths we can go down there. We can have something like this Mystery Ranch thing that is just a bladder pocket, which is kind of what I would recommend if you're doing that, because it's fairly low profile, and it allows you to wear a ruck on top of it comfortably if that's something that you might have to do. All right, and even this one's a little bulky. This is just an example, because this is also a standalone pack. All right, you can play around with something like the Core Performance ice plate. I've got a review on this thing. Huge fan of the concept, not a huge fan of the mounting. Supposedly they have a new sleeve that will play well with other vests mounted internally. I'm going to give that a shot and let you guys know how that goes. But I like the idea of this thing, and it worked well, both hot and cold water the times that I've used it. All right. And then you can have more of an assault pack type setup, and you have your bladder in there. It doesn't have to be direct mounted to the vest. I'm a big fan of having a day pack, basically, worn with the straps over whatever you're doing, so you can set it down if you don't need it. You can access stuff on your own. That is a viable tool, and that would be typically where I would keep the bladder if I'm using that. All right. So let's see what we can talk about next. All right, what are we doing on the back of our plate carrier? All right. Hopefully nothing. That would be the best thing to do, because carrying weight on a plate carrier kind of sucks. All right, but that's not always a possibility. All right, but don't force it. If you don't need anything on the back of your rig, you don't need anything on the back. All right. So we look at the JPC2 or the AVS family. They have the Cry zippers. All right. Cry zippers we're not, but have kind of become the industry standard. All right, London Bridge has a back panel that's coming out that's going to fit the Cry zippers. Grey Ghost makes Cry compatible stuff. ATS from Light Fighter days makes Cry compatible stuff, and WTF I know does that. All right, so for all intents and purposes, Cry is the industry standard. Also, Molly Monkey makes Cry stuff. So that does not mean that anything is going to play well by default. All right, it's just the majority of things are Cry. All right, Spiritus is not Cry, and Cry is not Spiritus. They will not intermix, and then Tyr will not intermix with either of those as well. All right, Tyr has a good line of back panels that come with, or you can get a zipper adapter. All right. So let's look at back panels real quick. All right, I've got a video out there on the Cry zip-on pack, the Grey Ghost pack. We've got the Grey Ghost kind of assault panel here. All right, looks awesome in your Instagram pictures and whatnot. May or may not be what you need. All right, so these things can typically store some extra mags up top, or some flashbangs, or smoke grenades, or something like that. It just depends on which one you get. Sometimes 40 mics, and then they generally have some sort of utility pocket or GP pocket on the bottom. Most of them will have some sort of bladder pocket or tool pocket. Sometimes the bottoms expand and you can fit like bolt cutters or something in there, which is also going to boost your Instagram clout. All right. But they all have kind of the same general layout. Velocity Systems makes a Molly-on version of this, basically, that's even bigger and has like a tear-away first aid kit, which is pretty slick. I'd like to try it, but I'm also not a huge fan of having the Molly on my back panel. All right. Here's a Tyr Tactical zipper adapter. All right, mounted on a Paraclete back panel. Buddy Paul at Longship Designs does this. He also has done Cry zippers on the Paraclete panels. So if you're a big fan of these, go hit him up and he will make it work with your vest. All right. He might be a little busy right now. I don't know when he can do it, but he's the man for the Paraclete mods. All right. You can also get just a straightforward hydration sleeve, kind of like the Mystery Ranch that I showed you. Or, and I'm a bigger fan of this option if you don't have your needs dialed down completely, is a small assault pack. All right, this is the Blue Force Gear assault pack. I don't think they make this one anymore. It was the DAP, I believe, which is a shame because this is like one of the coolest backpacks and one of my favorites of all time. It's a full clamshell. It's Velcro lined. It's got a nice external pocket that'll fit like a saw drum or an MRE or some nods. It has some tie-off capability, and then the least invasive shoulder straps on any pack I've ever used that actually work. All right, it's about the same bulk of just webbing, like you get on the flat packs and that kind of realm. But it actually works. All right, it's got like a mesh lining. So look for a good day pack and invest in that. They're usually cheaper than back panels also. Highly recommend finding a small day pack. The London Bridge 14 liter is also a good option. The shoulder straps are a little bit more to contend with. However, it's also a great pack. And a really good size. All right, and don't worry if your pack overhangs your plate bag by a little bit. That's because your plate bag is 10 inches tall, and that's not much of a backpack. So just deal with that. I promise it doesn't look any worse than you think it does. It's where it's at. All right, get a pack that works. And then if the pack bothers you, there's a couple different options out there. So there's the Mystery Ranch Mystery Cinch, which I don't recommend for a day pack because that's a lot going on for something that shouldn't need any help. But Wilder Tactical also makes these little Molly mounted clips here that just kind of, you put it on your chest and you loop your shoulder strap over it, and then it just kind of hooks it there. It's a really slick system. less invasive than the mystery cinch, and it's very very clean on your kit. It doesn't get in the way. All right, so that is kind of a good stopping point for this discussion. I can't tell you what to carry. I can help you tell you how to carry it and recommend that, but I can't tell you, the little nitnoid details, which I'm going to call pocket debris, because we've joked around about it in the past. But I'll make another video soon on pocket debris and why you shouldn't care what anybody else is carrying. All right. Electrical tape is a great example. Carrying a roll of electrical tape is in my culture. However, not everybody needs an entire roll of electrical tape hanging off the front of their kit. So the little nitnoid details we'll get into in a separate video, but I think this is a good basis for how to set up your plate carrier and what considerations to put into it. Thanks, guys. Sorry if this ran long. If I don't break this up, I apologize. Should be like a 2.5 poop video for the dads out there. All right, thanks, guys.